Hello! Welcome once more to the Weekends. Celebration of vulnerability and doing what we're afraid to suck at. Welcome all. If it's your first time here, here's the basic rules of Weekends. Around here, we share our vulnerable victories, meaning you tell us when you've done something that you were afraid to do, something you were afraid you were going to not be good enough to do or whatever, and we all clap and we all say, hey, great job, and we all feel great. Because here's the thing. The society we live in is holding you back by making you think you're not good enough to accomplish the things that you want. You are. It just might take you a little period of sucking first, because sucking at something, as Jake the dog once famously observed, is the first step at getting really good at something. I am your host, Slime. Welcome, welcome. I will be working on my dream of completing a comic book. You've maybe heard of these little things. I would pay an uncomfortable amount of money for Mildred to draw Grumbletum healthy. Well, you don't have to give money, obviously. I mean, don't get me wrong. Grumbletum obviously loves to gobble up that Patreon money, obviously. But you could just like, subscribe, such things as these. You don't gotta pay, you know? It isn't like that. But Grumbletum is quite sick. I gotta change the color on this thing because it's making me look blue. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I had one of these days the other day. Cool sentence. Cool sentence I just said. I had one of these days where I felt like I wasn't getting anything done, but in fact, I was like planning out all of my creative content for like a long time in my head without realizing it. And the clarity I feel now is astounding. And I think I have like so much of the brain work is taken care of that I can now focus on the execution, which is the part that I enjoy. So I've got like ideas for like the next Thought Slime video after a cringe corner that I've already recorded that I can edit together. I've got the whole series in mind for Scaredy Cats, and these comics I planned out like the first volume, and so that like there was all these little hints to where the story's going and having all the characters interact before they're formally introduced. It's great. I am so worked up, you know? Arnold Alley asks, would I consider reviewing the horror series Garrow on Scaredy Cats? So I noticed you asking that on the stream on Thursday. I meant to reply because you asked quite a few times and you seemed like you really wanted an answer to that question. I've never heard of it. I don't know what that is. Does it have anything to do with the One Punch Man villain Garrow? Sorry, I'm uncharacteristically, I'm sweating. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? That's not like me. What makes it a volume? I don't know. To answer your question, Evolians, I don't know. It's like the first block of stories that all come together in a big story. I don't know what you would call that. But like, it's a series of chapters. The first arc? It's a series of arcs, though, so I don't know if that's quite right either. All right, layer. Should we? I feel like today, I should mention I'm not medicated today. I'm taking a tolerance break from my ADHD meds, so I might be a bit all over the place. I think today, just to get in the habit of this. I'm going to do what I hope will be a weekend tradition, what I'm going to call a warm-up Spidey, which is what I do whenever I'm drawing not on stream. If I feel like I need to warm up, I just draw a little Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a very complicated figure to draw, but also a character that I love drawing. So it just gets me in that spatial headspace where I'm thinking about 3D objects and planes and such things. Planes, not as in airplanes, but like, you know, spatial planes. Face my fear of confrontation to end sessions with a bad therapist.
Flawless victory.
Garo is Power Rangers for grown-ups. Oh, I've heard of this. Someone recommended this to me, and I watched like the first episode, and I was, it wasn't for me. You know what? I don't need to construct a face normal style, because Spider-Man doesn't have a lot of the typical facial features that you can see through his mask. I just need to know where things are. And it's not Power Rangers for grown-ups. It's Sentai for grown-ups. Let's get one thing straight here. Now, I always forget if they go like this. This looks better to me, so it's gonna go like that. It doesn't matter. No one's paying for this. It doesn't have to be good. It's a warm-up sketch. It's just there to get me get loose, you know? Just kind of put some extra volume around the eyes here. All loosey and goosey wise. All right. Let's have him give him a little thumbs up. This is not how you should draw a hand, by the way. Like, see? Now you see why. You should always, when you're drawing, try to think of big shapes and then break it down into small shapes, which just helps a lot. He's got his shoulders back here. Boop, 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 boop. I'm not gonna like draw a whole Spider-Man. I would if I was not pressed for time, but we'll just draw a little simplified Spidey for warm-up purposes. And his other hand, conveniently, back here. So you can't see what he's doing. There you go. We're warmed up. Now we delete our art. Okay. Oh. Spider-Man needs that chin point. I just realized Bobby Duke would make such an effective Green Goblin. Wouldn't he? I'm the star of the channel, Spider-Man. Oh, my hand feels weird today. Drew a whole Spider-Man comic called One More Day. I'm not allowed to draw Spider-Man anymore. I don't think anyone will blame your art for that problem. The art wasn't the issue with One More Day. And I would even argue J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote that issue or arc, storyline, what have you, is not to blame either. That was purely an editorial problem. That's a great Bobby Duke impression. Thank you. I spent a lot of time with him, so. Boop, beep, boop. If you weren't here, by the way, for the last stream, he is indeed looking at clown pornography. I probably should have. So, the story thus far, we have page 1. We open up on Queen XL, the plus-size women's clothing store that our hero works at. 30 days until the brand explosion. He's unhappy with his life, working a dead-end job. Influencer comes in. What up, Blimbos? I'm here at Queen XL and doing the mud drop challenge. Now look who's got to clean it up. This guy. Page 2. He comes home, drinks a beer while he's microwaving a lasagna, eats said lasagna, and veggies out on the couch looking at clown pornography. They make other kinds of pornography? I wouldn't know. I've never been horny, and I never will be. Is it like clowns doing sex or clowns doing sexy clown things? Yeah, you got it. I know Mildred is old enough to remember that meme clown pornography from the late 2000s that ends with a dad clown upset that he accidentally had relations with his daughter, who is also a clown. I might be old enough to remember it, but I certainly don't. I remember a lot of meme pornography. For example, I remember pterodactyl porn was really funny. Cake farts, obviously. Cake farts is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. there was that Simpsons Futurama porn where everybody had jack-o'-lanterns on their head. What are my feelings on Killer Clowns? Do you mean the film Killer Clowns, or the concept, or the John Wayne Gacy's of the world? Because I have very different answers for all three of those things. Anyway, I know that you're asking about the movie, so I haven't seen it. But I know I'd like it. I will watch it at some point. Like, it's for me, right? It's one of those things where, you know. Having a hard time drawing and talking at the same time. I mean, I always kind of do. I did a bit more this week. I need to settle, I think, on a specific time for these streams. I just kind of do it around like when I'm not busy, but I'm not sure that's the best strategy. I'd like to be a bit more consistent. Is cake farts the origin of my sitting on birthday cakes joke? No, that is a joke I entirely stole. That joke is one-to-one an Akewood joke. It is just a joke I stole from a webcomic that I like. Ray is constantly watching sitting on cake pornography. And I thought, I like that joke. It's my joke now. Oops, what have I done? Yeah, I got a couple layers of sketches on this I forgot. Have I read Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics? Yeah, I read it in university. He was I remember even then thinking that his pie in the sky ideas about the infinite canvas, which took up a large portion of the book, felt outdated even then. I think he was very excited about like the new ways that digital comics could expand the medium. But I don't think it ever occurred to him to ask, wait, is there any storytelling potential behind this other than it being kind of neat, you know? And like, there have been projects that use infinite canvases, I suppose, that are fine. But like, it certainly didn't revolutionize the medium. Like, I think he might have hoped. Have I read Fox McCloud's Understanding Our Wings? No, but I did a barrel roll. Haha, hee hee. Have I read Scott Cloud Strife's book, Understanding One Wicked Angels? No, but another Final Fantasy VII reference, Materia? Shinra Corporation. Sephiroth. You know, in this sketch, I've drawn him looking kind of sad eating the lasagna. I think he should actually just be kind of bored, just like where I've drawn the eye drooping down like this. Should be more like this. I did this wrong. Not the way I like to draw the glasses. Can make it quicker by going boo, boo. And I like that this adds a little curve into it that gives it a pleasing, it's not realistic, but it's in a cartoony way, it's pleasing. Like the way that the lenses are kind of curved like that. How meticulously do you plan the issue before you start drawing it? Pretty meticulously. Like, I have the whole story mapped out. I have a whole Google document where I map it out. But I've learned from experience that I have to page to page, panel to panel, kind of give myself a little bit of artistic freedom in the moment. Otherwise, it's very boring and I get very frustrated. So to answer your question, it's kind of a mixture of too much planning and too much artistic freedom, if that makes sense. Never seen that trick before. What trick before? Has anything surprised you about the story recently? Well, what could it's my story. How could I be? I'm not sure I understand the question, to be honest. Do you mean like have I been surprised about like an idea I've come up with? Not really. This has been a story I've been cooking up in my head for like literally decades. So the main thing has just been simplifying it more so than anything. And like deciding which parts I need and which parts I don't. And also like which parts can wait, you know? There's characters who like won't get introduced in this first bit. That are some of my favorite characters. And I would love to like fit them in somewhere, but it just doesn't help the story, you know? If Bigfoot appeared as one of the monsters, would he just be Bigfoot, or will he be all the regional variants as well? Ohio grassmen, Momo, etc. I think it's reductive of you to assume that all such creatures are merely Bigfoots. Don't forget Slender Man, who's a shaved Bigfoot wearing a fancy suit, as revealed at the end of Marble Hornets. Fake fan, fake fan, fake fan. That's not Slender Man, that's the operator for copyright purposes. Oh, shoot, I saw your horror YouTube channel before? Yeah, I got one of those. Bigfoot is such an insulting term. If I were Bigfoot, I'd be pretty pissed to find out that that's what people called me. Well, we don't know what he calls me, right? Maybe he calls all of us insulting stuff. Like, I wouldn't worry about that. Also, he's not real. Are most ghouls and urban legends copyrighted? I don't think Slenderman is really either of those. Slenderman was created on the Something Awful forums in a thread titled, Make Your Own Paranormal Images by user Victor Surge, and went on to become this internet-wide folklore, but certainly was just created in one time and place by one particular guy. So I think there's a strong case for copyright in that. Now, I think copyright is bad, but I think he created the character. He should maybe get some money for it being used in like major motion pictures and shit. You know what I mean? Does he have a voice in your head, or is it purely text and images for you? I never really thought about that. I don't really think they do have canonical voices in my head. No. So you're free to imagine that they all sound like whatever meme character you like. Everyone sounds like Squidward. Sometimes when I'm sitting in the dark, fantasizing about a better life I could be leading, and I imagine like a studio coming to me and licensing this to make a movie, I always imagine myself going, okay, but it has to be purely colorblind casting. And then I pat myself on the back for what a hero I am for thinking that, in the absence of any sort of consequences for myself. Is this a remake of your comic from when you were 19? It's more so that I just never stopped telling myself stories about these characters, and I just wanted to get them out of my head. Finally. You know? It's like, all things considered, what I would like to be is some kind of like fiction maker. That's like my dream. So this is kind of me stepping into that and like starting the process of learning to make my own comics and shit, you know? So they'd be live action, not drawn, and colorblind voice actors? Well, I imagine if it were animated, then you'd have to choose the actors first and then work backwards from that to get their designs, you know? So if you wanted to have a colorblind animated cast, you could just, you hire the actors and then you work backwards from that to determine where each character looks like, and just try and stick kind of close to the designs I have, but like, you know, not be beholden to them, obviously. We're going with the Garfield school of lasagna, by the way. I was classically trained at the Garfield school. Do I have a favorite comic creator / series? Yeah, I would say that my favorite comic series is Saga of the Swamp Thing, or Saga of the Swamp Thing, however you want to pronounce that. Whichever one of those is correct. And Alan Moore in general, I love his work, usually. That's kind of like a basic answer, I suppose. I don't know. I love Grant Morrison. They're great. Ollie's voice actor drank colloided silver and is now blue. Why would we get a I don't think any libertarian voice actor is going to be interested in this project. Neil Gaiman has written some quality comics as well as Al Ewing. I don't know if I've ever read any Al Ewing comics, but I've read a lot of Neil Gaiman's comics and books for that matter. And I quite like them. There's obviously Sandman, but as I've discussed in my video about Batman, I love Neil Gaiman's Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader. That's a great little comic. I don't know what other comics I've read by Gaiman. I've read a lot of his books, though. You might be mistaken. In my experience, libertarians are famously ideologically inconsistent. Yeah, but if there's one thing they seem to be united in, it's disliking me. They're all pretty mad. Every single libertarian, every single ANCAP in the world is extremely mad at me, personally, for my video that I made. The second video on this channel about how ANCAPs are not real anarchists, a subject that I think not really worth covering, to be honest, because ANCAPs are goofuses. They're jokes. Who cares? We don't need to worry about that, in my opinion. Anarchists spend a lot of time trying to clarify that, and it's like, oh, no one cares. No one listens to them. To be fair, no one listens to us either, but at least our ideas make sense. You need to worry, son. Oh, are you a little baby ant cat? Are you a little? Hey, little guy. Hi, welcome to the stream. We're going to use a lot of big words that might be hard for you to understand. It's okay. Don't be afraid to ask if you need to know what I'm talking about. No one's going to make fun of you for that. They will make fun of your nonsense ideology. But this is a safe space for all sorts of goobers. And we're all, go ahead and ask us to go on a helicopter ride. We're all very intimidated because you're such a big toughie. My line work is so good. Oh, thank you. It appears that way until I turn off the sketch. You know what? I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the thing that I'm not supposed to do. I will say line work is something I want to improve at. It's something that requires a lot of patience. Someone need to get a mod? No. He's not causing any problems. He's incapable of causing problems. Just enjoy having him here. You know? We don't need to ban people who are hilarious until we're sick of it, you know? Is there any art you saw once that you wish you could see again? I mean, why wouldn't I be able to do it? What program is he using? I'm using Clip Studio Paint. The thing about ANCAPs is, like, one of the reasons that I think it's kind of a waste of time to argue with them, and I feel this way about a lot of different political alignments. They don't believe what they're saying, but they will defend it to their dying breath, because what's important to them isn't so much that they have a consistent worldview or that, you know, their ideas can help people, or at least most of them. There are some true believers out there. What's important to them is that they get to play devil's advocate and always be on the defensive and get into arguments with people. It's the same way with ANPRIMs, right? It's not a real ideology. You can point out the contradictions in it all you want. That's like what they want you to do. They want you to do that so that they can sit and argue with you and exhaust you, and like, because for some people that's entertaining. Some people like just arguing in bad faith and doing that for fun. And like, they might not consciously think that they're full of shit. They might not realize that they're, you know, just doing it for that reason. They might think that they genuinely believe what they're saying. But, you know, you can kind of tell, because you'll make a point to them that they'll go, oh, okay, yeah, when you put it that way, I don't really know. I don't have an argument for that. And then the next time you argue with them, they bring up the exact same thing, the same thing that you've already disputed to them, and they've admitted that they don't have a counter argument for. And then you just go through that again, you know, where they're like, oh yeah, good point actually. It's like, well, yeah, but we've already talked about this. And that I used to wonder why that was, but then it really is like a lot of people just don't care that much about the truth. They care about having the chance to argue. And like, this is the thing. That's why a disproportionate amount of NCAPs and libertarian types are like smart people. Smart in a very particular way. Because a dumb person, insofar as like dumb and smart exist as categories, which is a whole other kettle of fish, a dumb person can't believe something counterintuitive. If something is counterintuitive, they'll hear it and they'll go, that makes no sense. And they just will dismiss it. Whereas a smart person can justify bullshit to themselves. They can hear some nonsense that doesn't make any sense and twist it around in their head until they come up with an argument that makes it fit. And they will pursue that logic. You know, once they've done that, like that's the fun of it. It's also why you like kind of can't make fun of them, because if you make fun of them, you're missing the point. Like their whole thing is that they want that confrontational relationship, so you're giving them that. And prim ideas are mostly wishful thinking about a glorious primitive state. It's rhetoric pushed to the limits. Anarcho-primitivism is it's a complete contradiction. It doesn't make any sense. It's purely an excuse to be holier than thou, and it's kind of low-key racist, if I'm being honest. I don't think primitive is a term like that comes with a certain set of connotations, if you catch my drift. But like, it's my opinion on Marxist-Leninists. I think they're a broad category of people. I disagree with Marxism-Leninism. It doesn't mean that I find all Marxist-Leninists disagreeable. But I don't think it's so simple that I can give a well, here's my take type of thing on it. It's an extremely complex series of ideologies, you know? I know that I disagree with the basic premises of Marxism-Leninism. That doesn't mean that I consider them my enemies necessarily, any more than I consider liberals my enemies. Thanks to you every time I see Haz's tweets, which is as rare as possible. I think it's Fizz. Thank you. Oh, you are missing out. You need to. Oh man, no. You need to follow Haz. Haz is, I think, the funniest account on Twitter, the best shit posts of all time, except that he doesn't realize he's making shit posts. He's very mad at me right now because I won't debate him. And that's, I mean, I don't debate anyone, but he's like, You know that I would destroy your career. I'm like, yeah, man. I'm terrified of you, Hez, for sure. Is this? And that came about because I made fun of a tweet where Has said that if you're a man and you claim you're in love, then you're lying and you're just a simp. And it's just like, what do you even say to that? Like, damn, dude. I'm having trouble with elbows today. What do I think of Andrew Tate being banned from Facebook, etc.? Oh, Andrew Tate should be banned from every platform possible. Andrew Tate should not be given a public platform. He consistently uses those platforms to not only... I got a little worked up. Excuse me for a moment while I fix that. All right, I'm back. Andrew Tate, as I was saying, should have every platform taken away from him. He is not only hate speech purveyor, but like quite literally uses his platform to commit sex crimes. Like, if there's ever been a case for deplatforming someone, it is him. The usual like crocodile tears about, oh, what about free speech? What about free speech? The man is entitled to his speech. He's not entitled to do it on every platform he can. Not entitled to be given a huge access to an impressionable audience by Facebook. And if you think that he should be, if you think that he should be allowed to have access to that, then please allow me to come to your house and debate you. Come into your living room and scream at you all day? Oh, what, you don't think I should have the right to free speech? Am I appearing in Abigail Thorne's The Prince? No, that was a joke about me having a nightmare about being in a play and not knowing my lines. Is he really entitled to spread hate speech, though? Well, no. But, like, how do you stop that? You know? How do you stop someone from merely having hateful opinions? I'm not really sure that that is a solvable problem, to be honest. You're free to come to my house, but no screaming. My neighbors would get mad. You're infringing on my free speech. Think my alerts are stuck behind something? Indeed, they may be. I would love to see you appear in an Overthrow Media stream with non-compete. I'm pretty sure I have. I've definitely done stuff with both of them. I've definitely been on both of their streams. Or rather, Overthrow Media was on this stream. Not Weekends, but like a Thought Slime stream. All right, at some point we're going to have to deal with this hand. We can no longer put off dealing with this hand. No. We know the general shape we want. Now we make it. Now the hard part. We got the shape. Now we got to make that shape a hand. What was I going to tell my viewers that I stole the Mona Lisa? Never. Narc. Told you that in confidence. Is it as simple as this? What have I... Oop. Oop. There we go. Close enough. What's my take on Rise of the TMNT and its cancellation? I haven't seen either, to be honest. Well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the show, so. Ooh, hands, the messiest organs to draw. This is going to be perhaps a foolish question. Are hands considered organs? I had certainly never thought of them thusly. Hands are a collection of tissues that perform a specialized function. No, I mean, I know what a hand is. Don't feel like you have to explain what hands are. I know what they are. I guess I don't really know what an organ is. I know. See, here's where I get tripped up. Kidneys, lungs, got it. It's the little meats inside you that do special stuff. Cool. Skin? Skin is organ? What? What? How is skin organ? Skin is like the wrapper on your body. That's not a meat inside you that does a thing. All right, now for the part I've been secretly dreading. Having to ink the sexy clown. Skin is an organ, so is fat. Fat cannot be an organ. fat. I refuse. You can't have some organ sometime and then not eat enough food and lose organ and be okay. No, I refuse. I will not accept this reality. Organs are groups of tissues with a shared function. So the entire human body is but one organ. The human race, an organ. All life, one infinitely complex organ. The universe itself, an organ. You always keep the same amount of fat cells? What do you mean? What do you mean you always keep the same amount of fat cells? That cannot be true. What then makes people grow and shrink in size? Where's that coming from? Where's the mass coming from? The cells grow and shrink? No. What? What? So you're telling me that, like, you have cells in your body whose specific function it is to, like, store the fat. Is that what you're telling me? And, like, those just get, like, crazy expanded. If you just like, you know, completely chub out, those are just like, yeah, put it in me. I can get as big as I need to be. Is there a theoretical limit then, therefore, on how fat a person can become? Could you? Well, yeah, you die. Yeah, I know, but I'm presuming all other factors. Not like, is there an? Yes, there is. Follow-up question: has anyone reached that limit? Has anyone maximized their fatness? Has anyone gone to a level of fat that it cannot be exceeded to become the fattest person who has ever and will ever live? Mildred not knowing how fat cells work is the same energy as its piss. Not quite. Not quite, because I'm not freaking out about a sex thing, which I think is a little different. Also, I'm delighted to learn this, for the record. And another reason that it's different is, like, I will gain and lose fat all my life. Hez will never be around a woman who squirts. It's just never, it'll never be a problem for him. What do clowns' eyebrows look like? Do clowns have special eyebrows? I should look at a photo of a clown. Excuse me for a moment. Clown. Ah! Came over it. All right. What's sexy about this clown? It's a matter of taste, isn't it? Are you telling me you've never had a fat poop, like a greasy poop? I'm not telling you that. And I, in fact, kind of making my business to not tell people things like that at all. But for the record, I don't think I've ever, if I have, I've never noticed that. I mean, I know that like excess fat is pushed out in poops, obviously. I don't know why everybody is so fucking shocked that, like, I don't know about fat cells. Like, where is that just like a thing that most people are generally aware of? Because, like, I didn't do biology in school. Where would I learn that? Doesn't everybody have a sexy clown folder on at least one of their devices? Who the fuck saves pornography locally in the year of our Lord 2022? Sorry to put you on blast, but that's just unusual behavior. Secondary school science? I did physics, not biology in secondary school. As I literally just said. How would you rate Canadian public schools? I have nothing to compare them to. Everyone I've ever known has gone to a Canadian public school. That's not true, actually. My wife went to like a school in Saudi Arabia, but it was like on an American thing, like in a, not a military base, but like a corporate base type of thing. I don't know what you would call that. Like one of those compounds where like you get foreign workers, but you have to entice them. So you give them a bunch of benefits and stuff. They do it now with like a lot of oil workers. My biology class did not have dissection. That's actually why I didn't do biology in high school, because I was afraid of having to dissect an animal. I didn't want to develop a dark passenger. Contractors? Yeah, something like that. Like an area where I don't know what the business was doing, but like they had a bunch of workers. So like the workers would have like a living area and they would have like a school and shit like that. And like, it's in Saudi Arabia, but they weren't really following like Saudi Arabian culture, you know? Like the women would dress normal and like didn't have to be accompanied and stuff. The more complicated this panel gets, the more anxiety I feel. I don't understand my fear of sexy clowns, especially when I'm not afraid of clowns. The mind is strange. Maybe you're about to discover something about yourself. That's what it sounds like to me. You only took one science class for all of high school? No, I took 3. All 3 of them were physics classes. Physics level 1, physics level 2, and physics level 3. I learned fairly recently that in Iran, at least, women can dress pretty normally and don't require accompaniment, but it's normal for people to go out together instead of alone. Yeah, I mean, the Middle East is not a monolith, but it's not the case in Saudi Arabia. I have drawn this clown's arms too thin in the sketch. I'm just trying to correct that a little bit. Why did I continue to take physics after I knew I was bad at math? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, as I said, I was afraid of having to dissect an animal, so I didn't want to do biology. I figured chemistry would probably have an equivalent amount of math. And also, all of my friends who wanted to be engineers were in physics, so that's why I would take physics. I knew it didn't really matter which science class I took, because I didn't envision myself having a science-based career, given my particular skill set. But yeah, if I were to choose now, I would have done biology, because I don't think they did have to dissect any animals in my high school. I like my clown girls beefy. I'm surprised you've had reason to think about that before today. I don't like how that touches the thumb. So I get... I mean, that's better, I guess. Did they all become engineers? They did. One of them went on to stop being an engineer, but they did become engineers. They went to engineering school and university, you know, and got it. I believe it was, I say all my friends, it was 2 guys because I had 2 friends in high school. One of them became an engineer and then gave that up to to start a brewing company. And the other became an engineer, and I believe is pursuing becoming a teacher. Like a science teacher. Which is cool, because that's what his dad was. He was like one of these people who, he was just like phenomenally smart, but like weird as hell. Probably some sort of undiagnosed neurodivergence, but he was just like, he was the type of person who would get 100 on every test, and he would also, independent of that, he would find a way to cheat on every test just to prove that he could do it, and then not cheat. just just for like the bragging rights. Like that I don't know if STEM classes in high school still use these, but back in the day, before smartphones, we would use this particular type of calculator called a T184 that was it cost like $150 back in like 2002. So that's probably like, I don't know, $1 million now. But the thing about those was that you could make your own programs on them, and you could store them in the memory. And so therefore, a lot of students would create like little sheets with all the formulas so that they could cheat on tests. So before every exam, the teachers would come by and they would wipe the memory. But my friend figured out a way to like save it in a way that they wouldn't catch it when they were formatting it. So it stayed on the device, but then chose not to use it because he also wanted the bragging rights of getting 100% on the test by merit. You know what I mean? He's that kind of guy. Big thanks to today's sponsor, Texas Instruments. I mean, it does feel like if students are still using that type of calculator, it feels like they don't need to be. Because like back in the day, it's like you needed a scientific calculator. You needed one that could, you could like program specific functions into. Nowadays, it feels like you could make an app for that like pretty easy. It seems unnecessary to buy the big expensive calculator. $150 Canadian in 2000 would be roughly $325 in today's money. So roughly the cost of a Nintendo Switch. Seems like the system works. If you're smart enough to cheat, you're smart enough to pass the test anyway. Yeah, but he wanted to prove he was smart enough to do both. They don't want you using phones because you could use it to cheat. Equally true of the calculators. You could give students like, I suppose then the school would have to have like a bunch of iPads or something. I don't know. Put up a phone jammer in the room. And also, like, just the idea that it would cost so much money to manufacture a device like that in the age of smartphones seems unlikely to me. You know? Seems like back then it made sense that it cost that much. Even, like, it seemed to make sense in the very least. It probably didn't because it's, you know, the power equivalent of, like, not even a regular Game Boy. But now it's just, that's ridiculous. You're telling me this thing costs $300? For what? You know? Like a Raspberry Pi, which is like what? Like nowadays a Raspberry Pi is like 4 gigs of RAM or something like that? At like the lowest end? And that's way cheaper. But it's probably one of those things where it's like, you're paying for the name, you know? too much. Well, there's an easy way to settle this. How much does one of these calculators cost these days? T1 84. On Amazon.com right now, a Texas Instruments T184 graphing calculator in black costs $126.47 Canadian. Now if I go Raspberry Pi 4 8 gigabit, $199. How about a Raspberry Pi 4 4 gigabit? $169. Nice. So about equivalent, really. I don't think it's an O-face. I don't think he's coming in this photo. I think he's just consuming. You know? Yeah, let's get rid of the sketchies. The honk honk is implied. In the final bit, it's going to be like I'm not doing the sound effects as part of the inking. Is the only thing. What? Why am I? Yeah, you. There we go. Okay. So A1, A1 lines, A2, A2 lines, A2 lines, B1. B1 lines. B2. B2 lines. Does he like clown porn that are the sexy version of clowns, or do they need to be accurately portrayed as clowns? I think he'll take what he can get, you know? Now, I know a better workflow might be to have like palettes for all of these characters that I set that up some other time. Palettes that I can draw the colors from so that I don't have to go back to old comics and grab them to make sure I'm staying consistent. But That's a problem for another day. Does this clown have their egg, or are they a fake clown? I think it doesn't have to be a real clown, right? It's all part of the fantasy. Are there any web comics I like aside from Achewood? Yeah, there's tons. I feel like this comes up a lot. Having trouble thinking of some right now. A2 flats. A2 flats. Gunner Creek Court, Dr. McNinja, like they're all old webcomics now. Nedroid, Kate Beaton, Dinosaur Comics, A Lesson is Learned but the Damage is Irreversible, Pictures for Sad Children, Toothpaste for Dinner, Pokey the Penguin, Does Mildred post his progress on his comic anywhere? Yeah, these streams right now. You're watching it. You're watching the progress. I don't know, that looked brown to me for some reason. I think I asked this before, but is your aim to stick to a very rigid ruler-drawn, same-size, 6-panel format to show him being trapped in a monotone life, and once he realizes his power, the panels themselves become wilder and more varied to show him breaking out of the monotony? That's the idea. I mean, I'm not like I'm not going to be beholden to the idea that like in the panels have to be wild and dynamic later, but I had definitely drawn them intentionally very static to highlight how repetitive his life is. Wasn't Thomas Wayne in Flashpoint also a doctor that wanted to be Batman? Well, firstly, he was Batman, and secondly, he wasn't a ninja. Now, you could argue, I suppose, that Batman is sort of implicitly a ninja. I don't think that's true. And I'll see you in court. If that were true, then the animated film Batman Ninja would be a redundant title, wouldn't it? Check and mate. Batman from the animated series is a trained ninja. Well, now we're getting into kind of a different subject, right? We're trying to epistemologically define ninjas. Like, what makes someone a ninja? Is it merely having the skills of a ninja? In which case, yeah, Batman is always a ninja. He routinely defeats ninjas. He's undoubtedly as skilled as any ninja in single combat. I would argue that there's more to being a ninja than merely prowess. There's a certain cultural attitude. Etymologically, Mac Ninja would translate from the original Irish as son of the ninja. Yeah, I believe that's a plot point in the actual comic. They get into like the family history and stuff like that. That was a comic that started really one note, and then you could really feel the creative team growing as they made it and coming up with more and more interesting ideas. This is just a placeholder line. At some point we're going to have to draw the table there. That's going to be, although it'll be in the foreground, it'll be done in the background style. It just doesn't pull focus. My favorite gag from Dr. McNinja is, if that's what you're talking about, Gus Hobbleton, is it's a panel where he's fighting some goons, and he picks up a vending machine and throws it at them, and one of the goons is like, "That doesn't make any sense. Ninjas aren't super strong," and the other one goes, "Yeah, but he's also a doctor." Just a flawlessly executed joke, in my opinion. She-Hulk is legitimately good? I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I liked it, to be honest. I mean, it's only one episode in, so it's a little unfair to judge, I suppose. But, like, there's this certain way that people will write women superheroes that's like, I'm not just a superhero, I'm also a woman. As though that it, like, they can't just have the story, it has to be about the fact that they are a woman. In a way that, like, men never have to. Men can just be the main character of a story, and it's not remarked upon. You know, it is just assumed. You know, like, it's that's the normal way to be. But whenever a woman is the main character of a story, it's like, but how could a woman be a superhero? What would that look like? It's like, I feel like if we were being statistically, half of superheroes should be women. Right? I know they're not, but it just feels like such a weird tack to take. And, like, the character is she was very, I felt, unlikable in that first episode, because she's just, like, angry that she can't leave. And I get that her motivation is to go back and be a lawyer, and that's, like, her thing. She doesn't want to be a superhero. Great. But, like, regular Hulk will be like, yeah, totally. But the thing is, if you lose control, like, you could destroy shit and hurt people. So I need to, like, show you how not to do that. And she's just like, ugh, what a pain. Like, are you okay? Are you really? And like, if that's meant to be like a characteristic, you know, that she starts like that and then she learns that she has to take that a bit more seriously in later episodes, that's one thing. But it does seem like the show very much rewards her for that attitude in a way that I am a little uncomfortable with. And like, as a metaphor, that makes perfect sense. That he's like, well, I have to show you how to do this, you know, and she's like, well, you actually don't. Like, I can handle myself. Like, I get the metaphor of it. But the literal events on screen contradict that metaphor so hard that it's like, well, why did you write the metaphor like this? This has always been the way. Male comedians make jokes. Female comedians make jokes about being female. The tide is turning, but unfortunately, it's a hill they have to climb. Yeah, but like, a comedian chooses their own jokes, is the thing. Whereas I don't feel that I feel like this is very much an editorial mandate. More so than like well, this is the story we wanted to tell. And like, it's not like, I like the idea of her when she gets catcalled and she hulks out and then she, you know, that's an interesting, that's a situation I get, like, cool. Okay. It's then turning to the camera and going, just so you know, everybody, I get catcalled all the time. And it's like, yeah. Okay. A little didactic, you know, like you had already kind of shown us that. And I know even in saying this, it's like, you really can't be too straightforward about these things because like there's a contingent of people that are going to not understand or deliberately not understand so that they can be mad at women. But it's just like, I don't know. It feels very much like a board of directors sat down and they said, well, here's what we have to, if we're going to do this show, here's what we have to do. With the catcalling, they were making a statement about how her having to navigate the issue of being in a world where women are mistreated and her being unable to react to it, or she might go into a murderous rage, but nah, instead they did nothing. Well, worse than that, it's like these guys are catcalling her, and before they can like get punished for that behavior, she like hulks out, and we later learn she wouldn't have hurt them. She's in full control, and the regular Hulk like saves the guys as though like they're the victims here and they need to be protected, you know? Which almost like suggests that it's like, it's wrong to be upset about getting catcalled. So like in their didactic need to like demonstrate that catcalling is bad, they kind of neglect to show that it's bad and make the catcallers seem almost sympathetic in that, like, not in the sense that their catcalling is good. It's in the show. It's, you know, it's as in real life, it's disgusting, but like they have to be saved by the Hulk from the overreaction of She-Hulk, you know? It seems obvious, but so many people have been saying catcalling doesn't really happen. No, it's again, I like the idea of her having to deal with like catcallers and that turning her into the Hulk and that being a scene in the show. What I don't like is after that's happened, her having to turn to the audience and go like, so this is what that's about. And if you did that as like a third wall break joke, okay, but like the way that it shows you something and you're like, oh, they've outlined this, they've shown what that's like, and then they also have to have the characters explain it verbally. And like, I get why, because otherwise people miss the point, but like, it's just like, I'm an adult. Like, I know that catcalling is wrong. I got it in the scene where they catcalled her. I'm like, oh, that's gross, you know? The speech about women dealing with enraging issues daily is fair, IMO. Sure. But it's not that they're wrong about that. It's just that the way they conveyed it is so blunt. You know, it's like instead of doing that, instead of having her say, well, I have to do it this way, why not like she's like, oh, learn to control my anger. And then a montage of her having to deal with that stuff. And like, you can kind of tell by her face that she's like controlling herself instead of her just fucking saying it, you know? Instead of her just like, here's this in the most boring way that you could possibly demonstrate that, you know? They're trying to avoid the Captain Marvel backlash where a female hero is hated for punishing people who harass her. Well, then you don't get to do both, right? You either make a show that's going to piss off misogynists, or you don't try to insert like any sort of girl power messaging into your show because you haven't fucking earned it. You're not brave enough to actually do anything with that. You're just kind of putting it there because you feel like if you don't, people are going to write op-eds about you. You know, it's not at all like genuine. It's so like you so clearly don't give a shit. Like. And like, it seemed like, I bet there was probably an earlier version of the script where it made more sense because it seems like what they were going for, but then they chicken shit it out of, is that Hulk is mansplaining to She-Hulk how to be Hulk. And she's like, I don't need you to tell me that. I already know all, like, I can handle this. I'm fine. And that's like where their relationship is headed the whole episode, right? But they don't want to make Hulk seem unlikable, so they can't have him like do that and like learn a lesson and like apologize. So instead, he's got to be like kind of in the right, and they've just got to be like in conflict for no real reason. And it's like you were so close. Like you can kind of see it where he says, you know, I used your DNA to heal my arms, and she's like, so I'm better. I'm a better Hulk than you, and he's like, well, you're a different Hulk than me. And I feel like there was an earlier draft where he was more visibly like his ego was bruised by that, and he had something to prove to her. You know? Hulk should have been a worse person. Not a bad person, but like he should have had to learn, you know? Like it should have been like he has this reaction that he has to confront and then realize that he's being unfair and then change. You know, a character arc. Like the basic building block of a story. The Harley Quinn animated series has surprisingly great positive feminist messaging. Oh yeah. No, the Harley Quinn animated series is fucking genius and does all of this 1,000 times better. And I think a large part of the reason for why that is that like the show has an actual authorial voice, where I feel like the people who are making it are actually feminists. I think that's a big part of the reason why. I think it was already pretty visible that his ego was bruised, but he dealt with it by trying to play it off as not a big deal. Yeah, and then nothing happened, and so it's a pointless. Like it should have gone somewhere. Like yeah. I think I've made my point. Someone suggested that part of the reason that Harley Quinn series is a better feminist message is that Harley Quinn is supposed to be the bad guy, so executives let them get away with more. No, I think it's just that it's a better written show, to be honest. I mean, I think there is a certain level to be said for like the inherent cowardice of the Marvel machine, where they're like, we don't want to make any of the characters that we have stand to make billions in dollars from selling action figures of look like assholes. But I think at the end of the day, there's a way you could do it where it wouldn't be so difficult to watch. People love asshole characters, though? Yeah, I suppose asshole is the wrong word. Like, unlikable. She-Hulk is very unlikable to a certain group, but I wouldn't trust their opinion on whether it was night or day. Well, I don't really feel like I belong to that group, and I found her pretty insufferable. And I will say, I love Tatiana Maslany. I loved Orphan Black. She's a great actor. Like a once-in-a-generation great actor. So I do place it squarely down to the writing. And again, maybe this is all like, she's kind of bratty in the beginning, and then she, you know, goes through an arc. Maybe. But I did not get that impression. I did not get the impression that the show recognized that they were writing a character who was kind of being a dick. The Squirrel Girl show was in production but got scrapped. That is a fucking tragedy. The difference is that people here dislike She-Hulk for writing entire tropes. People on that side hate She-Hulk because strong woman. Yeah, pretty much. And that's just the thing. Like, I almost hate to criticize the show because I know that it's going to face that type of feedback. But I almost feel like that becomes part of the marketing at some point, where they're like, oh, look at all these fucking weird incels who hate this show. Don't you want to do activism by watching this show and proving them wrong? It's like, nah. I think it's fine. It's not like you're making 20 videos about how bad it is because woman. No, I think that's one of the things I like about it is woman. She-Hulk is liberalism, right? Like, what does that mean? I think it's a very reductive way to look at art, to be honest. I think that probably like the majority of the people who worked on the show were liberals, no doubt. True, I just meant that you're not going to find a genuine leftist messaging behind a product clearly designed to maximize profit. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think any television show is going to have particularly leftist messaging, to be honest. I mean, I think that would be kind of an unreasonable expectation. liberals are pretty right wing. So, like, compared to what though? Like, the reason I'm kind of confused by this questioning is like, liberalism is kind of the hegemonic ideology we live under no matter what. Like, of course She-Hulk is liberal. Everything is, you know? And it almost feels like, then why even point it out? Because, like, yeah, of course it is. Are women bourgeois? I mean, some of them probably. I don't know why I added probably to that sentence. Definitely some women are. Definitionally, right? Like, I gotta figure out what color I'm gonna make this kitchen. What color conveys kitchen? I would think like a white or a gray. White is too clean, I think, for Ollie's apartment in general, so it's gotta be a gray. I know it's supposed to be beer, but the bottle reminds me of ketchup somehow. I know, I was thinking that earlier. I'm okay with people interpreting it as him drinking a bottle of ketchup. What about white with black line squares? I don't want to be drawing that all day. Plus, I think that's also like that does a good job of conveying this space is a kitchen space, but it's also like, would his apartment be that nice? Still trying to figure out why you're drawing my Saturday routine. Hashtag relatable, am I right? I just realized what this is missing. It's got to be like bubbling over. That'll really complete like just how gross it is to eat. You know, like when you put stuff in the microwave and it kind of like rises up and then spills out onto a little tray that rotates the bottom. I think also to sell that this is a shitty apartment, we had like a little bit of exposed wood. Like there's been a chip in the paint that like nobody has dealt with. We'll clean that up in a bit. Oop. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. I think also drawing from a real life experience, there should be like moisture coming out of that hole. So. Feel free to clip that one out of context. There should be moisture coming out of that hole. It's piss? All right, that's going to do me for today. I got to get going. Is there someone we can do a raid towards? Can I pause Twitch before it makes noise? Yes. All right, I can send you at Lumi. Thank you for coming. I will be drawing again tomorrow, as I do every weekend afternoon. And please come prepared with your vulnerable victories so that we can all celebrate doing the things we are afraid to suck at. Be well. That's the wrong chat to paste that into. That's not how you do that command. Oh, but it worked anyway, so that's fine. Cool. Professional streamer, ladies and gents, and bees and et ceteras. Every